So welcome back guys into Equine Hub. Well, it's taken quite a while to get around to actually doing that video, but as you can see, we've been on holidays and he still thinks we are on holidays, but no, we're back to work now. So today we are going to be dealing with, we're going to be seeing the basics of equine nutrition, but again, I realised that it was probably going to be a too long video, so I've decided to split it into two. So in that video we are going to be doing a right back to basics onto the digestive system of the horse. So if you know everything about the digestive system of the horse, please do skip the video, it won't be interesting. And so in the following video we'll be seeing the basics, golden rules of equine nutrition. So let's get going then. So first off, the digestive system. So the start of the digestive system is actually in the mouth. So it's the first point of contact with food. And so thanks to its smaller lips, the horse can actually select what he will eat. It's especially true for, grass and hay. So grass or hay or feed, gets cut using the first set of teeth at the front and then gets pushed onto the premolars and the molars. So there's a gap between the canines and the premolars. Yes, the premolars. Which is usually where the bit sits. Horses normally have about 40 to 42 teeth. The number of mastication movements will depend on the type of feed. So for example, for a kilo of concentrate, this will require 800 to 1200 mastication movements. While for 1 kilo of hay, this will require 3000 to 3500 for a horse. For a pony, the number of mastication movement for a kilo of concentrate is somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000. So I'm not even gonna go and talk about hay there because I ain't got the numbers, but it's probably quite enormous. So what is the aim of mastication? Well, the first thing is of course to reduce the size of the feed, so to cut it into smaller particles. So a good dentition is essential in that respect. Also there's saliva being produced, which will help for the food to glide down into the esophagus, which is a long tube, and so to avoid the risk of false route, so food going into the bronches or whatever. So a normally fed horse will normally produce between 10 and 12 litres of saliva per day, so quite a lot. So once it's been through the mouth and down into the esophagus, the food or digester will then enter the stomach. So I'm not going to go into too much details about it there because I've already covered quite a lot of the stomach and its function and its biology and anatomy in the gastric ulcers video. But anyway, so just a quick reminder. So it's a small organ. It represents about 10% of the volume of the whole digestive tract, so it's quite small. Capacity 8 to 15 litres. You have two regions in it. So you've got a glandular area, glandular stands for glands, and a non-glandular area. And there's two valves at each end. So you've got the cardiac sphincter valve and the pyloric sphincter valve. So there's various enzymes and hormones and gastric juices being secreted, which will start the digestion. So the function of the stomach, it will be the start, the breakdown and digestion of proteins. It will be the beginning of the fermentation of carbohydrates. It will store and regulate the amount of feed passing into the small intestine as well. So the stomach is never really empty, and there's always a little bit of food in it, and food usually remains in it for 2 to 6 hours. So the small intestine, which is the next section, is divided into 3 areas. So you've got the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So usually for a 450 kilos horse, the length of, well, basically what is a tube, will be between 21 and 25 meters long. It represents about 25% of the volume of the whole digestive tract, food actually goes through it quite quickly, and sometimes it only takes about 45 minutes for the food, the digester, to go from, enter the small intestine, so, leave the stomach and exit the small intestine. The passage rate is usually about 30 centimeters per minute, so it is quite quick, but it does remain the main site for the breakdown of the nutrients and their absorptions. How can it be so efficient? Well, if you look within the structure of the intestinal wall of the small intestine, then you'll see there are some velocity which will help absorb nutrients efficiently. There are various enzymes and juices present, pancreatic juices, which are secreted by the pancreas, bile secreted by the liver, as well as production of enzymes by the intestinal wall. So carbs will be broken down there, and I'll put you a nice little table actually there with the different enzymes that or some of them that do play a role into breaking down carbs. Fats mainly digested with bile. It's actually quite interesting because horses digest fats pretty well, and proteins are usually broken down through amino and carboxypeptidase. So the next part of the digestive tract, and the final part, is the large intestine, which itself is divided into 2 sections. So you've got the cecum and you've got the colon. So it will represent about 65% of the total volume of the digestive tract. So the majority of it, in other words. So the cecum first, so it's a pocket-acting cul-de-sac, length usually between 0.6 to 1 meters long, of course depends on the size of your horse. Capacity 25 to 35 liters. The digester enters by the ileocecal valve and will go out through the sacrocolic valve, and this is where the fermentation of nutrients will occur. This will happen anaerobically, God I can say it today, which means without oxygen, which is an essential condition for the bacteria and the protozoa and the microbiota present within the cecum to work. Passage rate usually about 20% per hour, which when you compare to ruminants, so cows for example, within the rumens that passage rate is only 2 to 8%, so it's much slower than it is in horses. So it's good to know that coprophagy, especially in foals, is used for horses with the development of their intestinal flora and fauna. So more than half the dry matter present in poos is actually composed of bacteria. So when horses eat, poos, it's it will help colonize their digestive system with good bacteria. And this bacterial population, as well as, you know, protozoa, is crucial in order to help digest, you know, certain molecules that cannot be broken down either by the enzymes or the gastric juices present along the digestive tract. So, for example, you'll have fibers such as, you know, cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, as well as fructose and oligosaccharides. Vitamin B is also synthesized, so produced in the cecum. So the final part, the colon, itself again divided into two parts. So you've got the ventral and the dorsal colon. The limit between the two is by what we call a hip flexion, and it's some kind of like a hairpin turn, and it's notably prone to impaction colic. The ventral colon, about 3 to 4 meters long and 25 centimeters diameter, while the dorsal colon, also it's about the same length, it is narrower with about 9 centimeters diameter. Fermentation still happens in the colon, but less so than in the cecum. The main role of the colon is to absorb water, and it's also the final chance for the nutrients that have not been, you know, absorbed by the digestive tract earlier on to be absorbed then. So in terms of water, in the small intestine, about 87 to 93% of the digesta present is water, while in excreta, this percentage, goes down to 58 to 62%. Finally, while its last role is of course to, you know, form and excrete everything at the other end. Right, so this is it for the boring part. Next video will be really getting more into the subject about, you know, which is more interesting, about the practical aspect of the basics of equine nutrition. What are the golden rules? What you should always try to follow in order to avoid any problems. So hopefully that won't take me 3 weeks to do next time, and I shall see you soon then.